Greetings, Ian from RTO here. Welcome to another Wednesday marathon, and this week it's part 2 of Wishbone Ash. As you know, last week we did the first part, which was from the 27 to number 15. So we'll just have a recap before we crack on. So equal 27th was Psychic Terrorism and Transvisionary. Number 25 was Strange Affair. Number 24, Here to Here. 23 was Nouveau Calls. 22 was Bare Bones. Number 21 was Raw to the Bone. Number 20, First Light. Number 19, Clandestiny. Number 18 was Coat of Arms. Number 17, Illuminations. Number 16, Bonafide. And number 15, Locked In. So here we go with the from number 14 right up to my favourite Wishbone Ash album. Wonder how many people know that without going through this. I'm sure there's a few of you. So coming in at number 14, we go to the 20th album, and this was released in 2007, and it is Power of Eternity, and it was the first recording to feature new drummer Joe Crabtree, who replaced the previous drummer. So here we go. So on the band at the time were Andy Powell on guitars and vocals, Mandy Mannion on guitar, Bob Skeet on bass, Joe Crabtree on the drums, and we have got a couple of Ray Weston, the previous drummer, has a drums on one. We've got Ainsley Powell on guitar, Miri Mitten on percussion, and Doe Brain on the Hammond. First track on here is called The Power. Great solid start, love that opening riff. It's a terrific little track, like that one quite a lot. Then we get Driving a Wedge. I love the funky start to this. It's a great bass line from Bob Skeet, solid track. Then we get In Crisis, one of the weaker tracks on this album. I'm not keen on it. It's okay, but I wouldn't say it's top draw. Then we get Dancing in the Shadows. I quite like this one. It's got that real bluesy feel to it. Love the guitar textures on this. Then we get Happiness. Now this is another one of those little funky tracks. I quite like it. I love the bass line from Bob. Northern Lights. It's an instrumental with some great guitar work from Andy Powell as ever. Really strong track. Your Indulgence. It's got a bit of a country feel to it. It's a bit of a sort of Eagles sort of thing. It's nice and gentle. Growing Up. Good track. Another. It's one of these sort of tracks. It's got bits that I don't like and bits I like. It's just a mixed track for me. Disappearing, sort of a semi-acoustic thing. Some nice textures on it. And the last track is my favourite, and it's called Hope Springs Eternal. Good track. I like how this starts gentle and it builds up with some really nice guitar work. Solid track to end the album. Certainly a mixed bag here. It's got ones that are okay, but on the whole it's an enjoyable listen for one of the later albums. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 6 out of 10. Okay, then coming in at number 13, we're going to 2011 now, and this is the 21st studio album, and it's called Elegant Stealth. Features a few guests on here. Joining the band, we got Don Airey on keyboards, Pat McManus from the Mamas Boys as well. But the band is the same as the previous album. Andy Powell, Muddy Mannion, Bob Skeet, Joe Crabtree, and of course Don Airey on the Hammond, and Pat McManus features on the fiddle, like he did in Runaway Dreams with the Mamas Boys. First track, Reason to Believe. Now this has got that classic Wishbone Ash twin guitar. It's a great drum thing from Joseph Crabtree. Brilliant track. Really like one. It's my favourite on the album. Warm Tears. I love the bass line on this. Great vocal for Mandy. Really strong track again. No Man with No Name. Solid guitar work in it. It's just all about the guitars on that. Can't Go It Alone. Pat McManus playing this fiddle. I mean, he's a great guitarist in his own right, but he's a mean violin player as well. I like this track. Solid. Give It Up. It's got that Eagles feel to it again. It's alright. Searching for Satellites. Nice gentle track with some nice vocals from Andy and guitar work. Heavy Weather. Good slow rocker. I like this. The guitar work is absolutely fabulous on this. Then we get Mud Slick. This is where you feature Don Airey's fantastic Hammond. Rich sound. I love the Hammond, as you know. Second favourite track on the album. It's a great instrumental from the band. Big Issues. Great track. Bob Skeet's bass line, boomy. Bit of a boogie rocker again, and it's a good instrumental track. Migrant Worker. Love the drums here from Joe Crabtree. Funky guitar line. Nice track. Invisible Thread. This just sounds like one of them good old-fashioned 1970s rock tracks, brought up to date. Great track. Then they did Reason to Believe remix. This is shocking. It's dancey. They've gone back to that trancey stuff. Get it off the album. We don't need this. A really good album. Why they had to do a dance version of Reason to Believe is beyond me. But the rest of the album is pretty solid, so I shall give it an RTO ranking of 6.2. Okay, then coming in at number 12, we go to 1973 now, and the fourth album, Wishbone Four. So on here we've got Andy Powell and Ted Turner on the guitars, Martin Turner on the bass, Steve Upton on the drums. Few guests on this one. We've got George Nash on keyboards, Graham Maitland on the piano, saxophone, Phil Kenzie and Dave Coxhill, and Bud Parks plays the trumpet. So many things to say. Good track. Love Steve Upton's drumming on here. Wonderful little track. Like that a lot. Ballad of the Beacon. Never been a great fan of this song. I do like Martin's bass line, but it's not a very good track. No Easy Road. My favourite track off this album. One of my favourite tracks by Wishbone Ash. So I love the rockness and I love the guitar work from our Ted and Andy. Brilliant stuff. Everybody Needs a Friend. Now this goes on a little bit too long. It's about 8 minutes long. I think this guitar solo's okay, but the rest of it just goes into some sort of tangent. Doctor. Solid song. Steve's drumming's great on this. Sorrel. Love the guitar work on this. The interplay between Ted and Andy is fantastic. Sing Out the Song. It's alright. It's a little bit dreary and not what I expect from Wishbone Ash. Rock and Roll Widow. Love this. Classic Wishbone Ash. Great twin guitar between Ted and Andy. Steve's the drums are brilliant. Now this album is one of them that was a little bit disappointing after the brilliant previous album. Of course, it's a mixed bag. They tried to change the sound a little bit. Some of the tracks work, especially the rockers, but some of them didn't work for me. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 6.8. Okay then, coming in at number 11. This is from 1976 and it's the 7th album and it is New England. So the guitar duo on this one is Andy Powell and Laurie Wisefield. Martin Turner on the bass. Steve Upton on the drums with Nelson Pardon on percussion. First track on here, Mother of Pearl. A great Martin Turner bass line. Solid track. Then we get In all my dreams you rescued me. Goes on a little bit again, too long, by about 2 minutes. It's a 6-minute song. It sort of loses itself again. But I like the beginning of it, it's pretty good. And then we get Runaway, some really heavy riffs in this. Good solid track, some great drumming as ever from Mr. Upton. Then we get Lorelei. This is a little bit funky. I love the middle piece. It's fantastic. The guitars and the sounds really good. Outward Bound, never been keen on this one. I do like the guitar solo though, but they're almost trying to be disco and it just didn't work. Then we get this little prelude. It's alright. Little ditty for 1 minute 13. Then we get my favourite album. Favourite track on the album. It's called When You Know Love. I love the bluesy sound of it. Martin's bass line is terrific. Some great drumming from Stephen on that one as well. Lonely Island. Don't mind this one. There's nothing wrong with it. It just needs to have a bit of beef behind it. And then we have this nice short little guitar thing called Candlelight to end the album. Really good album, some really good rockers on here. A little bit experimental again, but it didn't work, but the rock is great. Keep to the rock and you won't go wrong. And I'll give this one an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. We got to the top 10. So coming in at number 10, we got the 12th album from 1982, Twin Barrels Burning, and they did a remix of this in 2018. But the people playing on here, it's a really good lineup. Laurie Weisfield guitars, Andy Powell guitar, Mr. Trevor Boulder, Uriah Heep, Spiders and Mars, all that good stuff. Great bass player, and Stephen Upton. First track is called Engine Overheat. Love this track. That bass line from Trevor is brilliant. The guitar work from Laurie and Andy is always good. Can't Fight Love, another good track. Drums are a little bit hollow on this, but it's still a really good track. Genevieve, a good track that's dominated by Trevor Boulder's bass line, drives the song along. The interplay between Laurie and Andy is good. Me and My Guitar comes next. Another great track. Guitar work from Laurie and Andy again. Real good solid rocker. Hold On, one of the gentler tracks on the album. Not particularly good on the original, but when they remixed it, it sounded a lot better. Streets of Shame, favourite track. Driving riffs from both Laurie and Andy. Trevor's bass line is excellent again. No More Lonely Nights, solid track. Again, one of these tracks that the original is a bit shallow on the drum mix, but on the remix it's a little bit more beefier. Angels Have Mercy, another great track. Some great guitar work on this. Love the two guitarists. Wind Up, great bluesy number. Rock track. You've got Laurie, Andy and Trevor sort of going through the track, sort of intertwining with each other, playing off each other. It's a great track to end the album. Now, I've always liked this album, especially the guitar work on the 1982 mix, but I always thought the drumming on it was a little bit shallow. Then I heard the remix, and I think the remix on the whole is better. Now, if this had been on the album, just the 1982, I think it'd have been in part last week's. But because they remixed it and you got the defined version of this, this is why it's in the top 10. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.3. Okay, then coming in at number 9, we go to 2014 now for the 22nd album, Blue Horizon. On here, which the band at the time was Andy Powell and Muddy Mannion on guitars, Bob Skeets on the bass, Joe Crabtree on the drums. We've got guests on this one. Tom Greenwood's on the organ, Lucy Underhill is backing vocals, Pat McManus is back on the violin and plays the bouzouki. Mr. McManus, talented man, and Richard Young on the percussion. First track on this one is called Take It Back. Great track. Again, it's Pat McManus on his fiddle. Really gives it that Celtic feel. It's a really good track. Deep Blues, love this track. My favourite track on the album. It's just a great rocky blues track. Strange how things come back around. It's got some good sort of bass line on it. Good all-round track. Being One. This has got a sort of jazzy blues track now. Andy Powell's guitar work on this is amazing. Way Down South, a really good track. Starts off really rocky and then goes into a nice gentle sort of proggy track. Really good. Then we get, I love the title of this next one, Tally Ho. A really good guitar. The solo is pretty good. Solid track. Then we get Mary Jane, another bluesy riff. Just oozes wonderful textures on that. American Century, not my favourite, a little bit disjointed in places. Then we get the title track, Blue Horizon. Love the riffs at the beginning. Got some power riffs and some good little solo pieces. Then we get All There Is to Say. One of my favourite tracks on here. You've got Pat playing the violin again. You can just hear a bit of the bouzouki in there. Some great drumming on here from Joe. It's a really strong track to end the album. Now, I thought this was a really strong album. It's the best one they have released in the 21st century. Some great playing on here, and that's why it's in my top 10. It's an absolutely amazing album, and you know, it's one of my favourites. So I shall give this an RTO ranking of 7.5. Right, just have a drink. Okay, then coming in at number 8, we get a 1981 now for the 11th album, Number the Brave. Now, this is the first album without founding member Martin Turner, and he was replaced for this album only by Mr. John Wetton, King Crimson, Uriah Heep and Asia. Also featured Claire Hamill as a backing vocalist. So the band for this one is Laurie Weisfield and Andy Powell doing the guitar work, John Wetton doing keyboards and bass, Steve Upton on the drums, Claire Hamill backing vocals, and Gaspar Lowell on percussion. First track on this one, Loaded. Love that opening riff. And then you get a John Wetton bass line, which is pretty good. You know how much I love John Wetton. Good track. Where Is the Love? Solid track. Great playing on it. The four of them really rocking out on that one. Good track. Underground. Amazing bass line from John Wetton. So sadly missed. I keep saying this, but it's a great track. Kicks on the Street, my favourite track. Some great keyboarding on this from John. Now, you know, you've always associated John with his bass, but he's pretty mean on the keyboards. It's a great track. Open Road, not a particular favourite of mine, but I do like Steve's drumming on it. Get Ready's next, another good track. You get that boomy bass from John Wetton. The vocals are good, and throwing some great guitar work. Solid track. Rainstorm. This has got some lovely harmonies on. It does help when you've got John Wetton, who's a fantastic singer. You can hear him on this very well. That's that. This has got a ferocious start. Great drums and guitar, and you got John singing on this, which is great. Roller Coaster, it's all right. It's not the best track on the album, but it has got an interesting guitar solo. Then we get the title track, Number the Brave. Love the Hammond organ on this. The guitar work from Andy is phenomenal, and Laurie. John's bass line, really good. Now I think this is a very underrated album in the catalogue. It's a good rocker. Got a couple of weak tracks on it, but no, I'd say 90% of this is good. Really like this album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.8. Okay then, number 7. It's the 9th album from 1978, No Smoke Without Fire. Lineup on here is Andy Powell, Laurie Wisefield, Martin Turner and Steve Upton. First track, You See Red. Love this track. Love the vocal from Martin. Oh, excellent track. And then you get some great guitar work between Laurie and Andy. Absolutely fantastic track. Baby, the Angels Are Here. Martin's bass line is good. Some incredible drumming from Steve Upton again. Excellent track. Ships in the Sky. Now this is a wonderful little track. Some nice delicate guitar on this one. Lovely harmonies between Andy, Laurie and Martin. I just think this is a wonderful track. Just, you know, for an unrocky sort of track, it's wonderful. Stand and Delivers, now good track. Just needs to be a little bit shorter because towards the end it sort of goes round in circles. Our Anger in Harmony. Love the two different tones of guitar on this. Andy plays at one piece and then you get this little bit from, I don't know if it's Laurie, don't know who does it, but it's sort of, the two textures really work on that one. Like a Child. I like it when tracks come in with little guitar solos at the beginning. Solid little track. Then we get the Way of the World Part 1. Amazing track. Good riffs. I like the interplay again between Andy and Laurie. Really good. And then you get Part 2, which is a little bit more jazzy than Part 1. And you get even some more incredible solos. Lovely rich sound. Great album from top to bottom. Not a bad track on this at all. Love playing this album. So I should give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, number 6. The 8th album from 1977. Front Page News. So we've still got the classic lineup of Martin, Andy. We've got Laurie Wisefield as well. Another, I always think Laurie is part of that classic lineup. He's not Ted Turner, but he's a good substitute. And Steve Upton. First track, Front Page News. Great start to the album. It's a gentle start to one of them tracks. It's got delicate guitar and some really nice harmonies. Strong start. Midnight Dancer. That opening riff again. Oh, great stuff. The singing on this is great. You know, the leaders and the harmonies. Fantastic. Goodbye, Baby, Hello, Friend. I like this. I love that Steve Upton's drums that changes the tempo. He goes from this nice gentle stuff and all of a sudden off we go. Steve's on it. Great track. Then we get Surface to Air, my favourite track on here. There's two things outstanding on this: the guitar solo and the bass line. Fantastic. Then we get 714. I'm not keen on that. It's a bit weak. Then we get Come In From the Rain. Love this track. That the rhythm guitar is really strong, and then you get a delicate guitar solo, so you've got the rhythm really pounding the beat out, and then you get the guitar solo which is a little bit gentle. It's really nice, the two comparisons. Right or Wrong, another of those tracks that starts off with a great guitar solo. Love the bass when it comes in from Martin. The drumming from Steve is solid as ever. Heartbeat, quite chilled out, great guitar solo, some lovely keyboards on this, really complements the track. The Day I Found Your Love, one of the mellow tracks, some nice saxophone on this, really adds to it. And the last track, Diamond Jack, just classic twin guitar work from Wishbone Ash, and I love the harmonies. Another solid album from Wishbone Ash, very consistent band at this time. They rarely put out a bad album at this time. I really like this album, and I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8.3. Okay then, coming in at number 5, we've got the 10th album now, from 1980. It's called Just Testing, and it was the last to feature the original lead vocalist and bass guitarist Martin Turner. So on here it's Andy Powell, Laurie Weisfield, Martin Turner, Steve Upton, Claire Hamill's back doing some backing vocals, and Iain Q plays the organ. First track on here is called Living Proof, one of my favourite starts to any of the songs by Wishbone Ash. Love that chunky bass line from Martin, and then Laurie and Andy come in. Great track. Haunting Me, I like the bass line for Martin on here, it's absolutely terrific. Insomnia, now this is one of my favourite tracks by Wishbone Ash. This is definitely top 10 tracks. Martin's vocal and bass line are terrific. The keyboard sounds okay, really different, and Steve drumming is brilliant as well. Helpless, another brilliant start track. This is tremendous. Laurie and Martin, the rhythm of this is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. This is, of course, is a cover version of written by Paul Kendrick of Turkey Buzzard and Tuesday's Child and Czar. Really good cover. Pay the Price, another good track, some heavy riffs on here. This is quite heavy for Wishbone Ash, really good. New Rising Star, one of these slow bluesy numbers with some great guitar cranking on that one. Master of Disguise, the bass line for Martin on this is terrific. You get different sort of guitar effects as well. It's a pretty good track. Lifeline, Martin's bass line on this is brilliant because he sort of works round the guitar work of Andy and Laurie. And I think it's a terrific track. Now this album, I think, is probably to me one of the last, as I say that, the classic Wishbone Ash albums. I'm not saying that all the other albums are rubbish, because they're not, but this is what I call the last of the classics. So I shall give this an RTO ranking of 8.5. Right, we're moving to the top 4 now. Though these are my most played Wishbone Ash albums. I love these 4 albums as much as each other, but you can't have them all at equal first, sorry. So this is the order I went in. I changed this a few times. So coming in at number 4, and with a heavy heart, it's the second album from 1971, Pilgrimage. Andy Powell, Ted Turner, Martin Turner and Steve Upton. First track is Vaz Diz. I love this. This is a jazzy sort of track. It was written by Jack McDuff from the McDuff Quartet in 1964. and that's more jazzy, but this is rocky jazz, and it's absolutely brilliant. The Pilgriman, really like this. This is a proper jazz prog fusion track, some lovely harmonies. Steve Hupton's drumming on this is just fantastic. Let me get my favourite track, Jailbait. Ted and Andy are on fire. Brilliant track. Then we get a low. Now remember last week we mentioned it on that first light album with the vocals. Now this is the first and we all know more. It's the instrumental version. Out of the two, I prefer just the instrumental version. This one, it's got a little bit more soul. Then we get Lullaby. Now this reminds me so much of some of the Mike Oldfield at the time, Hergest Ridge, that sort of feel to it. I like that. Then we get Valediction. Now this is one that sounds very much like Stills, Nash, Young and Crosby. The harmonies on it are so much like them. It's a really good track. And then, like they did in some bands in the days, they put a live track on. Were You Tomorrow? Now this is recorded at the Montford Hall in Leicester. I like this track, but it goes on and on and on. It's okay if it's on a live album, but this is a studio album. I don't want endless guitar riffs and drumming. Now I love this album, but I'm not very keen on the live track at the end. It's just sort of, it goes a little bit flat. But I shall still give it an RTO ranking of 8.8 for the studio stuff because it's amazing. Okay, then coming in at number 3, we have the debut album from 1971, and it's the classic Wishbone Ash. Andy, Ted, Martin and Steve, with a guest appearance of Matthew Fisher on the piano. First track is the brilliant Blind Eye. Love the piano on this. But it's Steve Upton's drums that rule the roost on that one. Lady Whiskey. Love this. Great 70s prog rock. Again, superb drumming from Steve Upton. Errors of My Way. Classic track. Definitely top 5 tracks for me, this. Love the guitars between Ted and Andy. It's a little bit folky. It's really good. Queen of Torture. The stat of the guitar is brilliant. Some great riffs in this, some great drumming. Handy. Martin's bass line is amazing in this. Then you get that lovely rhythm from Ted. Andy's little bits coming in. And then Phoenix, which is a superb track. From start to finish, it flows. The solos and the guitar interplay is brilliant. A great debut album. So many good tracks on this. I love this album, so I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay then, coming at number 2. Now I know this is a favourite of Rachel from Rachel's Ghost. When we talk about Wishbone Ash, she always talks about this one. And it's the 5th album from 1974. There's a Rub. Martin, Andy and Laurie plays on this, and Steve Upton, and we got, I don't know how to pronounce this now, Albany Glunton on organ, Nelson Pardon on the congas. First track, Silver Shoes. This is great stuff. Now I don't know who plays the actual rhythm on this. I don't know if it's Laurie or Andy, but there's that rhythm and the drum with Steve is brilliant. It's usually the bass and the drum, but this is a rhythm guitar and the drum. Very underrated. Great track, and this was Laurie's first album, so it was a great introduction for him. Don't Come Back, great track. Steve's drumming again is superb. The vocals are great, superb. And then Wishbone, great track. One of my favourite tracks by this band. The harmonies are great. That keyboard sounds rich. Little bit of mandolin thrown in there. Absolutely brilliant track. Hometown. There's some great riffs on this. Again, it's Steve Upton's drumming that blows you away. Lady J. The first bit of really lovely twin guitar harmony between Laurie and Andy. Some wonderful harmonies vocally as well. Great track. Then we get Fubb, F-U-B-B. My favourite track on here. Now this is an epic. It's a 9-minute song. Got lovely interplay between Laurie and Andy. Got lots of swing guitar. Then we get some distorted riffs, a change of tempo. Martin's bass line takes over. It's an absolutely brilliant track. Now there's not much between the top two albums. I love this album. One of my most played Wishbone Ash albums. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.5. Right, over the 2 weeks we finally got to number one, and it's no surprise really. From 1972, the third album, and it's the magnificent Argus. Argus is a shop. Got some great players on here. One great player joining them. Martin Turner, Andy Powell, Ted Turner and Steve Upton. And on the keyboards, from Renaissance, John Tout. Oh, what a coup. First track, Time Was. I like this track. I like how it starts, a little gentle bit of spoken word, and then all of a sudden it comes into life, and the guitar work here between Andy and Ted is brilliant. What an opening track. It's 9 minutes long and it is superb. Sometime World. Again, we start gentle and then the drumming comes in from Steve. It's just a soulful thing. It's a wonderful track. Then we get Blowing Free. Brilliant track. The start of this, when you listen to them two guitar, so at the end you put it on the headphones and you can feel it going through your head. Absolutely outstanding track. Then we have The King Will Come. My favourite track by Wishbone Ash. I like it because it's rocky, proggy. Some lovely harmonies in this. The guitar work is just mind-blowing. What a track. Leaf and Stream. I like this because it's got acoustic and electric track, and it's really gentle even with the acoustic, the electric on. Then we get The Fantastic Warrior. So many good tracks on this album. The drumming on this from Steve is pretty cool. I love the switch on the cymbals. It is fantastic. Throw Down the Stall. Brilliant track. It's just got, especially when you got John Tout on the keyboards. It's probably got the best solo Andy Powell has ever done. And it is my second favourite track by Wishbone Ash ever. It's just absolutely brilliant. What a way to end the album. Now, this is an absolute classic. This album's got my favourite tracks by the band on it. Every track on here is brilliant. When you listen to this for, you know, for the time it was done. The production on it is really good, and it feels like they're playing in the room with you. It's just an absolutely brilliant album. If I was to go on a desert island and I could take 10 albums, this would be one of them. That's how good it is to me. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 9.6. So there we go. Wishbone Ash. It took us 2 weeks because it's such a huge catalogue. But it's worth talking about Wishbone Ash. Got a great response from last week's. And that was only the bottom half. So this is the one with all the classics. So that's all for today. But we'll be back tomorrow. First thing I've got to remind you, live stream tomorrow. As you know, we put our clocks forward on Sunday here in the UK. So it'll be an hour later. So such a thing, you're watching it in somewhere in America. And last week you was watching it at 3 PM in the afternoon. This week you have to watch it at 4 PM. The usual people will be around, Dave, myself, and see who comes in and joins us this week. So tomorrow, it's Thursday, so it's Battle of the Debuts, and it's the last of the specials of the best sellers, and we're doing a USA versus the UK. Got 2 great albums from 2 great artists. Representing the United Kingdom, we have Miss Kate Bush and the Hounds of Love, and representing the United States, Mr. Bruce Springsteen and Born in the USA. Also tomorrow it is In the Camera's View, and we've got a little bit of prog for you, and it is a DVD of ELP when they reformed, and they played live at the Albert Hall. It's an absolute belter of a show. So that's what we got for you tomorrow. So have a great day, everyone, and I will catch up with you really soon. Bye for now.